And Subramaniam Shankaran, another wonderful video on Domain 2, Asset Security of CISSP, DRM, DLP, and CASB, Digital Rights Management and Data Leak Prevention. Okay, data loss prevention is also an DLP. Data loss prevention is more towards the availability. Leak prevention is more towards your confidentiality and integrity. Disclosure happens when the data gets leaked out. And when the data gets leaked out, it might also get modified. Okay. So the first thing that actually happens is disclosure, and eventuality is could also be an the destruction or integrity compromise, etc. CASB, okay, Cloud Access Security Program. Now, we have a separate certification on Certified Cloud Security Professional, but CASB, okay, is a veritable focus for the security governing the cloud infrastructure. The CASB could be on premises, CASB could be with the cloud service provider, or there are also intermediary CASBs. Okay, let's have a look on what the CASB is, DRM and DLP is in this particular video. So, Subramaniam Shankaran from IEEE. So, digital rights management. Okay, so let me tell you something. It is more towards intellectual property rights. Whenever there's a book that is released, okay, let's say the Kindle. Okay, you are purchasing a book on the Kindle. Okay, now whatever you have purchased on the Kindle, you need to have the Kindle reader. Okay, or the Kindle notebook to actually read it. You cannot access the book anywhere outside the Kindle. Okay, that's what. But there are ways that the Kindle books are also being taken outside this Kindle. Okay, the file extension basically they have been converted to a EPUB or PDF that's released onto the internet. Okay, but I'm not speaking about the illegal way. There's a copyright violation anyway. So if you want to have the copyright, for example, I'm buying Sean Harris the latest edition on the Kindle. Okay, I pay the Amazon. Okay, and it gets downloaded onto my Kindle reader, and then I read it. Okay, or on the mobile phone, I can install the Kindle reader. Okay, and based on my authentication, the username and the password, I'll be in a position to access the books that I have actually purchased. Okay, now the beauty about the digital rights management is the book is available only for the users who have paid for the book. Okay, now, there are also companies which will have, the access to, which grant the access to the users only for a certain amount of time. For example, okay, you are doing a certification program, let's say from the EC Council. Okay, so they have their own digital rights management software. The study materials available for you as long as your account is valid. For example, if the certificate is valid for 3 years, for the 3 years you can access that. After that, okay, your account get expired. You cannot access the account. You cannot access the study material. Okay, so the DRM also ensures the book is access to the book is given to the authorized person. They also govern how long the access is granted for. Okay, so digital rights management is a set of technology used to control and manage the access to the copyrighted digital content. It helps and protect intellectual property rights. Obviously, the copyright comes under the IPR. Allow the content providers to specify how the digital content can be used. Okay, from the Kindle, you cannot actually take a printout. You can read it. Okay, you can actually read it. Even from the EC Council thing, you cannot take a printout. You have to only read it. Okay, so you can read but not take a printout. Okay, that means the data leak prevention is also implemented as a part of it. Okay, in fact, in the Google, okay, there are videos that you have to purchase, and your Gmail authentication is used. Okay, so when you're going to purchase a video for, let's say, $2 or $3, you can watch it. Keep on watching it. That's okay. Okay, but you cannot do anything else with it. Okay. The benefits of the DRM: protection of the intellectual property. Okay, IPR protection, control of the content usage, who can read it, how long they can actually read it, all those things are controlled. Customizable business models. Okay, the DRM enables the company to implement flexible business model like subscription, rental, pay-per-view services, etc. Like Google, okay, there are videos that are freely available, but if you want to watch a specific movie, let's say I want to watch Police Academy, okay, this is something which I watched when I was in my schools. I still enjoy watching that movie. If you want to watch it, then YouTube will say that, okay, you pay me the money and I'll allow you to watch the film. It's not very expensive. You go to the theater, okay, and you pay $2 or $3 per head, okay, to watch the movie. If you have a big family, then you'll be spending $15-20 on the ticket, okay. But in this case, just pay for the subscription and the entire family watches it. Okay. Benefits market segmentation. Okay, so you can segregate the market and provide them an access. For example, the Netflix or Amazon, the movies, okay, the Disney Hotstar, whatever it is, the movies that I actually watch, the access may be available based on the geolocation. Okay, if I for example, I'm subscribed to Disney Hotstar or Z5. Okay, if I go to Dubai and I access it, okay, there are a few movies that I cannot access because there's a restriction based on the geolocation. Okay, but when I come to India, okay, I can actually access it. When I go to some other country, no. Same thing holds good for the YouTube viewing also. Okay, so revenue increase, controlling the distribution, preventing unauthorized usage. Moment the unauthorized usage is prevented, okay, you are going to gain from it. Okay, enhance user experience, clear user rights. Okay, so everything is actually governed by the username and the password. Okay, so the users who actually paid for the services, they're going to watch the movie, or they're going to read the contents, etc. Education and copyright. DRM educates the user about copyright, intellectual property rights, promoting the awareness and the compliances. Okay, even in the organization, if you have the document, let's say the ISO related documentation, and you feel that only certain people should read this document, certain people shouldn't, you can still implement the DRM to you can avoid people like the vendors, consultants, if they are anyway the third party. If you don't want them to read the content, okay, you can have the DRM implemented to ensure that those contents are not read by them. Okay, next is data loss, data leak prevention. Okay, in fact, not data loss, data leak. Data leak prevention is more towards um, the the confidentiality part of it. This is something that I explained it to you. So when the data gets leaked out, okay, that means being disclosed. Okay, eventuality could be a modification, okay, or destruction, but whatever it is, but the original source will still be there. Okay, that's what we actually assume. Okay, so DLP solution monitor and control the flow of the data based on what is called as a tagging. Every data is tagged. What is the tagging? Tagging is like a labeling and also for the classification. So labeling and the classification. We discussed about the data classification handling on the video one. So it's like you tag that particular data, but to ensure that that data doesn't move outside. Okay, there's a data leak prevention. Okay, it includes data is going to be on three different forms. Okay, data at rest, data in transit, and data in use. Okay, so it's to control all the three different data states. Benefits of the DLP. Okay, when you ensure that the DLP is actually implemented, okay, it ensure the confidentiality is maintained. Okay, is a compliance requirement. You will always ensure that the sensitive data is not leaving your environment. It's a compliance requirement. And reduce financial risk. Okay, so the critical data is going to going to stay within your infrastructure. Okay, it's available only for the authorized users to do it. So the penalties doesn't come into the picture because the data is actually not stolen or moved away from the environment. In fact, if you look at the GDPR perspective, we have something called as a cross-border data transfer, right? If you're going to implement the DLP, the cross-border data transfer, if at all, if it's going to happen, okay, the DLP application will prevent it. Okay, reputational protection. So if you're going to have the data leak prevention, okay, and the data leak doesn't happen, it is going to enhance the reputation for the organization. Okay, the security breaches or the incidents, okay, even if the data is not disclosed or modified or deleted, moment there's a news about the security breach in the name of the organization, there's actually reputational damage. So implementing the DLP ensures, okay, the data disclosure doesn't happen. Breach doesn't happen or not, it depends upon your security controls. Okay, benefits of the DLP include security incident response. Okay, now when there's a data flow, okay, identified, it's a security incident. Okay, data doesn't get outside. DLP will actually prevent, but when the attempt to do it, it's in fact a security incident, and the SOC team will jump onto an action. Okay, so they're going to take an action on whoso is going to try to move the data outside the infrastructure. So data protection across the location. Okay, so let me tell you something. Okay, in this era of data protection, okay, we have a beautiful certified data protection officer training happening as well. So you have the data collected by the data controller, moved to the processor, subprocessor, etc. Now, if you're going to have a DLP implemented, unless otherwise it's explicitly approved, okay, by any other means, data will not be moving to the processor and subprocessor. Okay, it also helps you with the compliance, okay, regulatory compliance. GDPR is a regulatory compliance. DPDP India is a regulatory compliance. PDPA, okay, PDPA Malaysia, PDPL Saudi Arabia. Emirates is also coming up with PDPL, okay, and Bahrain has got the data protection law. Botswana has got the data protection law. Okay, so we are working on a lot of projects globally, so we know that, okay, so these things are actually happening. So this DLP is going to help you with the data protection regulatory compliances. Now, what are the CASB? Cloud Access Security Broker. Okay, this particular application sits between your, it could sit on premises, or it could be the cloud service provider, or it could be like an intermediary. Okay, for example, the cloud service providers will be rich anyway, but the organization is not in a position to afford to buy on CASB, and they are not very confident about the CSPs, CASB, they can go for an intermediary. Okay, CASB. Now, all the traffic between to the instance, okay, it could be accessed by various people across the globe, or it could be perimeterized. Now, what is the perimeterized? If you go to the Jericho's Cloud Cube, perimeterized is the access to the cloud is controlled with the organization. You need to establish VPN connectivity to the organization's network, and the only NATed IP address of the organization will be allowed to access the instance on the cloud. This is called the perimeterized. What is deperimeterized? Anybody in the world can actually access. Okay, now because the traffic needs to be controlled, okay, towards the instances, okay, whether it's perimeterized or deperimeterized, you need to have a central entity that is going to govern the traffic flow between the instances and the users. Okay, so CASB comes into the picture. What are the things CASB can actually do for you? Enhance security by protecting the data, detecting the threats, and ensuring secure access to the cloud resources. So all the traffic goes to the CASB, so it's controlled. So compliance and the governance anyway there, okay, because the access control is implemented. Data protection, it will ensure that the personal identifiable information and personal data is not accessed by any other third party. So that restriction can be imposed, and also ensure the data leak prevention is implemented so that the personal data and personal identifiable information are not disclosed to anybody. Shadow IT discovery. Okay, now what is the shadow IT? If the users are using an application, there is not an approved list. Okay, the security team has not approved it, or IT has not approved it. Okay, now these applications collectively called the shadow IT. CASB can help you identify that. Okay, it can also do what is called the user entity behavior analytics, UEBA. Okay, now because all the traffic goes to the CASB, okay, it can very well monitor what individual users are actually doing. It gives you an improved visibility and the control. You can take you can see what is the access control pattern. Okay, so what time it's peak, what time it's not peak. Suddenly there's a traffic, okay, which is a different IP, which is not usual. It can also detect that for you. So the anomaly detection is also something that is possible with your CASB. So this one, the domain 2, asset security on, for CISSP. This is Subramaniam Shankaran from IEEE. So you can reach us on training at ieees.org.uk, or text us on +91 99405 87544. If you're interested in our CISSP training, we handhold you until your certification. I'm Subramaniam signing off from IEEE. Cheers. Bye-bye.